Good to have you back, everyone. Let's talk about money, especially how to reach our financial goals.
Inflation has driven prices up and it can be difficult. So we have Regina McCann-Hess here with us for some advice. She's a certified financial planner and author of Superwoman Wealth: How to Become Your Own Financial Hero. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Yeah, how do we become our own financial hero? Let's start with maybe some tips about budgeting. How should we go about making a plan that we can actually stick to? Maybe some advice, for those people that have made plans but couldn't stick to it before,
That's okay. We all do it, right? We're human. That's the element that we have to remember. We're human. We have to overcome things. Sometimes it's going back to the basics where you pull your last 3 to 6 months worth of your bank statements and your credit cards and you categorize your spending, and your websites will actually be able to pull that into a spreadsheet for you, so you can actually just move the columns. It makes it a little bit easier. That's where you can see where you're spending your money. Where you see your income is what is hitting your bank account, the net the net amount of your paycheck. So you have your income versus your expenses. And then you have to pick out what are some of the expenses that are needs versus wants, which is always like a little bit of a gray area, as far as sometimes a want is not a need and sometimes a need is not a want. So you just kind of have to work through that.
Yeah, and Regina, there are just so many great deals out there, and you have the impulse buys. It can be really tough to stick to a budget sometimes. Do you have any tips or tricks to help us get through that?
Absolutely, and it's just as hard to do it, right? So we were talking off air, and I said it's about progress, not perfection, right? So you don't want to beat yourself up if you didn't hit the hurdle this month. But one of the ways that could help is to give yourself a weekly allowance, kind of going old school. When we grew up, we got a weekly allowance, maybe. But if we give ourselves a weekly allowance for those extra spending that we'd like to do, and then once we spend it, it's gone. Kind of like the envelope method, like here's your cash for the week, that's your spending. Once it's gone, it's gone. The other thing you could do is have an accountability buddy. Someone who's going to meet with you once a month at your kitchen table or their kitchen table and just say, okay, how did you do this month? Where did you go over? Where did you go under?
That's a good one. Mm-hmm. Actually, somebody that holds you accountable. So let's talk about some strategies here, because I've heard before that, cashless payments make you spend more money. So is it better to just pay cash? It almost seems like a super easy fix, which almost sounds a little bit too easy, though.
Yeah. And it is hard. I mean, in our society, if you go to a lot of stadiums and events, they don't even take cash anymore. So you have to bring your credit card. I'm an old-fashioned person. I always like to have cash, right? But my kids are the new generation, and they think cash is crazy. So maybe there's a medium, right? Yeah. So I think using cash can actually help decrease your spending, because if you don't have $60 in your pocket and the item costs $65, you can't buy it. And I think that's where a lot of the extra spending goes, where we do the online shopping because our credit card's already attached. It's just you hit a button and it shows up in your doorstep a couple days later, like magic. No, you actually have to pay for that. So that's one of the biggest areas that I find.
Regina, we really have to pay attention to this, because the Associated Press reports that 69% of American households just have less than $1,000 on hand for emergency spending. Do you have any tips for these middle income earners on how they can make a habit out of saving, whether that be for emergencies or for retirement or buying a house or taking a vacation?
Yeah, this is a great question. One of my biggest wishes is that everyone would pay themselves first. Before the money goes out to everybody else, take a piece out of your paycheck and push it over to savings. You should also have your 401k or retirement plan contributions automatically deducted, so you don't even see it. So it's harder to take money out of your pocket after you have it than to take it out before you have it in your pocket. So pay yourself first through payroll deductions to your retirement plans, and then you can also set up your payroll to send a certain amount of dollars to a separate savings or bank account, so it doesn't go into your spending pile.
Right. Talk to us more about that, about those savings. Where should we put all those savings in? Because ideally we want that money to work for us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's like a little bit of a push on that, though. I call it kind of the bucket approach. Bucket number one will be your short-term emergency money, and that's where you really don't want to take any risks. So something at the bank, a CD, a money market, you wouldn't be able to reach in and take it at a moment's notice, though. So you don't want to tie it up in a long CD if you might need money tomorrow or the next day. So that would be your like 1 to 3 year money. So you do a combination money market, CD, FDIC insured, so no risk.
Yeah.
Middle term would be a little bit of risk. You have some dividends popping into those buckets, and then your long-term risk is where you're in the stock market investing, and that's your long-term money, like your retirement plans.
It's all a lot to take in, but delayed payoff, that is really the goal here. Thank you so much. Regina McCann, Certified Financial Planner.
Thank you
so much.
Mm-hmm.